Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here with our buddies in Barely Civil. What is up, guys?
Hello.
Hey.
Let's have you guys introduce yourselves, your name, what you do in the band, so people can get used to your voices. And tell us about your band.
For sure. I'm Connor. I sing, I play guitar, play bass on a song. I roll.
Yeah. I'm Isaac. I play drums, and on occasion I yell things.
We're a band. We're a band from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we make music.
And people say we sound like Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's where we're at. That's us.
You're from Milwaukee, specifically in Wisconsin, for people who are of the area.
Oh yeah.
Like,
big Milwaukee fan. Big Milwaukee boys. That's us.
Yeah. We like growing up in Chicago, you're always like, oh yeah, Milwaukee's not that far. It's like an hour. And then you like get on the highway and you're like, this is too long.
It's funny because being in Milwaukee, it's like, oh, Chicago, that's so close. We'll get there in like an hour. And then you get on the highway and all of a sudden you're not moving anymore.
Yeah.
And like 2 hours. And that's too much. That's too much time.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of mine.
It's reversed here. Like,
yeah,
exactly. Friend of mine, who I will call him out, and I don't care if he ever hears this, decided to have his bachelor party in Milwaukee, which just didn't sound like a good idea, and it kind of wasn't, but also wasn't the worst thing. But like, you know, it's like, well, why would we go to Milwaukee for a bachelor party? We're right there. Like, that's like we could just go to like Antioch, which is where we've been.
Bachelor party.
Go to
yeah.
where?
What did big walk?
Wait, sorry. Say that again.
What did you do? What was the bachelor party?
I mean, mostly we fought with our Airbnb host, and
love it.
Fight or argument.
It was an argument over like, hey, you didn't clean up after yourselves. And we're like, yeah, where did all this trash come from? Because it wasn't us. Like, no one ate McDonald's. Then she's like, there's pizza boxes here. And we're like, okay, that one's fair. But it was literally like there were like a bunch of women's purses, and she brought in her own purse, we assumed, but like, did she bring in 5 purses? Whose purses are these?
I mean, I will say when I travel, I will pack multiple purses because I need it match with my outfits.
When you go to check out an Airbnb that a bunch of guys just left, do you bring 5 purses?
Maybe she was getting ready for a stay. I don't know. Maybe she was just like, I'm just gonna vibe here.
That's fair. I tend to do the like fanny pack crossbody, then like a bag crossbody, then a backpack, and then sort of like transform it up with all your different pockets and accoutrement, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
I mean, last to the pod.
Yeah. Drinking, is that LaCroix too? So then we can say like LaCroix and accoutrement.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
You could have both going. Guys, this is now the preeminary French language emo podcast.
Oh, Jesus
on the
Christ.
internet.
I get.
I haven't taken anything in French since middle school.
You had French in middle school? I took French in college.
Yes, I did.
And I know nothing.
I passed that.
Yeah.
They were like, you can learn a foreign language or you can do cultural appreciation. And I did cultural appreciation, and it was randomly on samurai. And that was cool.
Oh,
interesting.
Good. That's a cool one.
Yeah, interesting. All right. let's talk about your band.
Yeah, when you mentioned earlier that you've been compared to Death Cab, first of all, that's like a high ass honor to be compared to such
Oh,
like a legendary band. But also, I can definitely hear it when I was listening to your latest album. I'll figure this out because also a lot of reviews that I was seeing were really heavily saying this is a fall album, like to the
Mhm.
T, like you just plug it in and you go. And I find that like super interesting that we're kind of going by seasons when it comes to albums.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think like it's funny because I don't know if we've ever like gone into it with the intention of like, oh, this one winter. But it's definitely like um I think there's a lot of like weight that we give to seasons, and I think that that weight sort of carries over into other things. It's like, we classify like foods as like that's a winter food, that is a fall food, and I think that like goes really well with music as well. And um, I think 2020 has been just a very fall time for everybody.
The whole
You're
year.
there's not much to do.
You're eating soup.
You're eating
That's
soup.
fair.
It's been a very fall time, and I think, but I do think it definitely fits. I appreciate the seasonal recommendations and the seasonal like this is a fall record.
And I feel like it works. It's kind of cold, but also you want to hang out outside.
Mhm. True. I think of like my favorite album of the fall, because I think this every year too, is always Sing the Sorrow by AFI. And I thought
Okay.
like AFI always did like seasonal records, because they did Sing the Sorrow, which was autumn, then they did December Underground, which was summer, and then they did Crash Love, which also felt obviously. But then they did Crash Love, and I'm like, that also feels like an autumn record. And I'm like, maybe these guys just can't get out of that end of the year seasonal thing. Like, it wasn't a very spring record. I'm like, well, that's your next one. What are you doing?
You know how the seasons work.
You know how these work, man. You're like autumn, and then winter, and then second autumn. Let's go back a step.
Well, it's like we just recently were out and about at a record store, and they had a big cardboard stand up for the for Boney Bear Records. Boney Bear, another Wisconsin band.
Of course.
Big. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're pretty
I
under.
don't know. Person, I still cannot say their band name ever.
It's
so I'm just
French,
not gonna
Lizzie. Come on.
I don't know it. I don't know it. I can't see. I can't hear.
But we were at this record store, and they're using like seasons as like a marketing point. They're like, get the full year of Boney Bear. Here's that summer record. Here's that fall record. Yeah, little winter mixed in. So they're like, that's like a marketing point.
Yeah, they're leaning into it.
They're leaning into it.
Yeah. That's really
So
interesting.
Why not?
Why not?
Exactly.
I'll take it.
Might as well.
Yeah. You think do you think it just helps with the writing of it too, where you're like, these are the feelings, and this is like just sort of like, it's a good way for everybody else to sort of like get into that same zone as you. You're like, hey, this is a year of the autumn. So it's like, hey, you're probably feeling the same way I'm feeling. So let's get on the same page here with music in the same way. I liked how you put it with food, of course. Yeah, it's like you're in the same mode, you're in the same mindset because of the food you're eating, I guess. And like now it's like, hey, I can put you in this mindset with this music in the same way.
Right. I think it's also really funny because like obviously we don't like I don't go into writing lyrics, or we don't go into writing music thinking like this is gonna be our fall record. But then it's funny to have people tell me that I'm like, oh, the lyrics sound like a fall record, because then it's people being like, you're in a fall mood, aren't you? And I'm like, I guess I've been there.
It is fall.
Yeah, it's the year of fall.
Well, I was reading an interview that you guys did with Stereo Gum, and where you were explaining that there was, when you're writing this, it's kind of like you going through personal changes and like moving on to the next step in your life. And I find that like really interesting, especially this year where a lot of us are kind of stagnated with that.
Mhm.
So it's really cool to kind of hear that it's like not like super inspirational, but it's kind of reassuring that you kind of can hear that that's a possibility going forward.
Right. I think like this point in time has been just kind of like fucked for people in like our space. Specifically, like I think often about how like Isaac and I graduated from college in this last semester. So we graduated in May. So half of our like last semester was sort of broken up by safer at home orders, and I think about how like people in our same age or like class as it will sort of got hit with this like weird space of, okay, things are about to change, you're about to move out of comfort and into a totally new space, but also the world hardly exists right now. Everything sucks. The economy is heading into a recession. Jobs aren't existent. And also, stimulus help you're supposed to get. Well, your parents are going to get it, but you're not, even though you're supposed to be independent. Like, it was just such like a fucked time for everybody going into that transition. And I feel like that was a big thing for me that I just like really felt. But at the same time, like you said, it's like kind of, it's like a weirdly beautiful thing to like still be able to experience change in a time that feels very dead. Mm-hmm. And even if that change is like not great, it's still change. That's I guess needed, especially this late in the game.
Yeah.
Was there like a pinnacle moment that made you jumpstart writing some of these lyrics in your life?
I don't know if there was like a moment I could point to and be like, yeah, that song comes exclusively from like this experience. But I think like the entirety of sort of like feeling the weight of full independence, full responsibility, full isolation definitely like was a big thing for this record. I think on our previous work, there had been like a lot of exploration of change and evolution and sort of like where we were and where we were going. But on this record, it was so forefront in my mind. Like it was all I could really focus on because like time was progressing. And I knew that like, eventually I won't have some of the safety nets that I had as a college student, as somebody in college. There's sort of like a freedom to it that you lose when you leave, which feels a little like counterintuitive, but it's like, you kind of feel invincible in that space. Like you can make mistakes and you can have time to learn from them. And then once you leave that's gone. You don't have time to make mistakes. You make a mistake, you lose your job. Now how are you going to pay your rent? And so like that stuff was really like present in the writing of this record.
That's definitely a feeling that I've also had too. So So yeah, when you're explaining like, oh, it's like a safety net, you're in school and you feel like you're invincible because, sure, say you get screwed over and you get fired from whatever job you're working, or whatever minimum wage job you're working during school. It's like, cool, I can go get another one, but now you're in the real world. And if you're lucky enough to get another job, you have to be like, oh fuck, if I get fired, it's gonna take me anywhere from 2 to God knows when to get a new job. And
Yeah.
you're right. And it's definitely something that a lot of people are facing right now. And you putting kind of to words and to music that also kind of resonates with a lot of people is very like inspirational in a sense.
I appreciate that.
It's me. I'm people. I was laid off back in May, so I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right, Lizzie. Thanks. I'll never get a job again.
I mean, I feel for you. I graduated in May, and I still haven't found the startings of any sort of a career in this environment. So
yeah. Well, I dropped out in 2009, so I'm 100 anyway. It's fine. Look, maybe I'll go back to school right now. Maybe that's the thing I need to do. Who knows?
This is a sign.
Yeah, this is it. This is the Ace of Base song I needed.
Oh God.
Study philosophy.
Sorry, Ace of Base is a Euro pop band. I know. That's totally a joke. Everybody knows who Ace of Base is. I don't have to explain that.
You're trying to do the Zoomer humor, Brian, and you're looking more like a boomer, and I really need you to pull back. My guy.
It's boomer humor, not
Boomer humor.
It's better if it rhymes the entire word.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, I did want to talk to you guys about, because you're one of the more politically charged bands that I've seen come out of everything that's happened this past year, especially with y'all having a newsletter even called Culver's 1312, I believe. I get my numbers mixed up a lot. But I was reading and I've been following it. And I think it's so interesting that you're kind of covering every update that's going on concerning protests and Black Lives Matter, and you've still been continuing on with it.
Yeah, I think so. Really, so what happened was we wrote and recorded our record, and we had plans for touring and releasing, and then things sort of started to break down, and the pandemic hit. And then we saw protests sort of start, and what really hit us is that it didn't feel like our space. Like we really felt like, okay, we have this, but it's not our space. We shouldn't be occupying space right now.
Not a good time.
And we sort of just had too much in motion to fully hit the brakes, but it just felt weird to us, where 4 white men making music in a space that has been often, sort of run by white men, and it didn't feel right or fair or relevant. Like we didn't feel relevant, and we sort of had to sit down and talk and figure out, okay, well, how do we approach this so that we're not just taking space to take space. And that's when we started talking about the beginnings of Culver's 1312. What it really is for us is we're not, these I don't think of us as big activists, or what we really are people doing what people should be doing, which is collecting and sharing information. We target the Wisconsin area because that's what we know, and it's what we directly are impacted by. And we just felt like it was, if we're going to occupy space, if people are going to be going to our social media, looking at our stuff, we should be applying some of that occupied space to something worthwhile that people should be looking at, people should be reading and caring about. And so that was where Culver's 1312 came from. And it's turned into something that we really care about. Mm-hmm. Not that we didn't care about it from the start, but it's become, we really, for us, it's a good way to keep each other in the loop. Mm-hmm. And if people are going to it and paying attention, that's awesome. But like, we have a Discord where we just talk to each other and we send each other and we sort of like process our feelings about things in that space as well. And so, yeah, it was just all about like, how can we occupy space in a productive way and in a way that we feel more comfortable doing. There was obviously still like discomfort releasing an album in a time like this. But we're just trying to do the best that we can with it and trying to be the best sort of people we can be right now.
Well, I also know that some portions of your album sales went to certain freedom funds as well,
Yes.
which was really great to see. Again, we've been seeing so many artists and bands contributing money and then, either matching, bail funds or donations. And it's great to still see that momentum going, because the biggest problem that we have seen in these social movements is they turn, unfortunately, into just a hashtag for a lot of people at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's what's hard, is that it's like I feel like there's some sort of like methods of going about it that are productive momentarily, and like we're going to release our album or we're going to release this project and part of the sales are going to go towards that. That's awesome. Raising money for those things, that's awesome, but that's momentary. And it helps in the now, but what are you doing from that point on? And I think that's why we really wanted to do something like Culver's 1312, is because it's like, obviously, like, as like kind of like dumb as it sounds, like these things don't just stop, like, and it feels very performative to just, even if your intention is like pure and good, it feels very performative to just like donate some money,
slap a hashtag
on it, tweet about it, and be done. And that just didn't sit right with us. So we just want to do a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's been the big struggle. I mean, it still has been happening with all of the news and all the stuff that's been available for information this summer. There's still people who are like calling on celebrities just to be performative with their actions. And I think that, it makes sense. We want people. I mean, now the thing in the news that's happening is SARS in Nigeria. So obviously people are pushing for people to make it a bigger story, and that's working. But there is a certain side of it where it's like, well, there are spaces here to listen to the right people, and everything else becomes a bit of a performance art for the people who are talking about it. And I still don't think people understand that there is a very strong difference between taking some information and doing some good with it and providing something back to the community, and just like, hey, I also agree this is bad. You should like my music because I think this is bad. Yeah. So it's really good that, like, at least there are some people that can see the distinction between these things and putting money where your mouth is and doing something good with the platform, rather than just saying, hey, this is bad. Everybody should know this is bad. Here's my new YouTube video. Check out whatever the fuck I'm doing in that, instead of actually knowing about this issue and putting time and effort into it.
Yeah, for sure.
We just didn't want to be performative about the whole thing. Yeah, like you said, we kind of put our money where our mouth is.
Because it just feels so hollow to like. I think like really, it's in one way it's like, you do what you can and and that's good. But I feel like some people just like, and some artists don't think beyond, where can I put money? Where like. Money is great. Money is awesome. Money does a lot of things, but it's like there's more that you can do, and that's what we wanted to make, and that's what we did make. Was something that was just like, when funds dry out, when we can't afford to keep donating, how do we still be a part of something good? How do we still do that? And so, we do that through like focusing on our little pocket of the world, because that's what we know, again, like, and that's what's relevant. and to us, and we do our best to, in any way we can, promote Black voices, Black artists. You know, and it's just like that's what we can do. And you know, people can choose to look at that. People can choose to not. People can choose to listen to our music or not. That's fine. But we're gonna do what we can and just hope that that's enough.
Yeah.
Did you have any backlash from your activism from this at all when it came to like either losing fans or like negative reception about it?
Not really.
No,
I think
there was one thing that I can think of where, like, on the tweet that we had about the album, and we mentioned that the proceeds are going to bail funds, there was like one guy who was like, let him rot in hell. And I think I said wrong, and then I like blocked it.
I think though, you know, it's tough. We come from like Wisconsin, which has a history of being a little conservative. And you know, so it's tough in that sense, but I think we've always, like, from the start, and we've been making music together for a long time. And from the start, we've been very, very vocal about what we care about and what we believe in. And we've also been very vocal about, you know, like, if you don't really care about that, then like, we're just not really the band for you. And that's fine. We just want people to be nice to each other. Like, and that's it. We just want people to be nice to each other. We want people to be safe with each other. We want people to feel comfortable in any capacity. That's it. So, and we've always made that very, very clear. So I think we've sort of, over the years, weeded out anybody who would be like, oh, fuck you guys. You know, like, hey,
we're not like some high and mighty activists. We're just like, hey, like, be chill.
Just be nice people.
And that's been enough to get us like banned from playing a festival in our hometown.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so it's sad to see how little people care about each other. But you know, it's always been something when we're on tour, when we're playing shows, we always talk about safety and keeping each other safe. And, you know, like, we're in this community that is very like vigilant and very aware of what's going on in its space. Everybody's sort of talking about everything. And that's a blessing and a curse. It is awesome to have that, to know what places are safe and what places are not, and to know who's fostering safe spaces. And that's awesome. We need that. And then there's sort of the part of it that feels like, you know, there's sort of a granting of power to people who occupy those spaces. And that's scary. But the best we can do as a band in this community is, you know, use what we have, which is a microphone and some music, to talk to people about the importance of being safe and being open and inclusive. And, you know, there's a lot of things that people sort of ignore in their inclusivity that is really heartbreaking. We have always been very vocal about our discomfort with the lack of inclusivity towards disabled people in the scene. And, you know, that's something that we care about a lot. And we're really frustrated to see that not a lot of change has been made in that department. And especially like now, in a time where shows, they're not happening. This is the time when we need to be reflecting on how we can make spaces more safe, more inclusive, and how we can just be generally better people to each other when we can finally be with other people again.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's all we care about. As long as people are just like cognitive and like aware of that, cool, we're good. We've done what we wanted to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, especially you bringing up just like the disabled rights. I know, what was it, about a year and a half ago, I think we had Half Access on to discuss
Yeah.
a lot
Mhm.
about having more accessible spaces. And I know that, just going around after the fact to a lot of the venues we have here in the city and even a couple that I've been to out of state, you look around and you're like, there's no way, even if you came in on crutches for some crazy reason, if you're at a show and with crutches, good for you, but it sounds a little dangerous. It would be even so difficult for that to be that. And I think us as a society, we see that as like, oh, it just happens to people. And I don't think a lot of people also want to realize, especially in time of COVID where you have longer lasting effects that
Mhm.
could disable you, that anybody at any time can become a part of the disabled community.
Mhm.
And that's, physical and also, mental as well. And when we kind of bring that up, it's something that I think a lot of people have such difficulty grasping, and to kind of want to forward that narrative with the platform that y'all have and be able to kind of help forward that narrative is really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something we've done our best to not take for granted. It's like it's a really cool thing to be able to have space to talk about the things that you care about. And we don't want to be. Sorry, my cat is going crazy.
Like we said, bring the cat on.
Yeah, that's what everybody's here for.
And we don't want to be pushy. We don't want to be like aggressive ever. But if we can just like talk about what we care about and do our best to keep people away who honestly just don't align with what we're about, that's cool. That's what we want.
Yeah. I think sometimes here in Chicago, the liberal hotbed, I don't know. I don't actually know if that's true. I assume, but
I think that's
like
what everyone yells about us.
Yeah. Keep our name out your mouth is what we say when we hear our name being said. It's like, yo, no, you don't know. Don't talk about us. It's very strange when you're like, oh yeah, of course, we're all very like welcoming to these communities. These communities are welcome at every place, and the bands go up on stage and they go, hey, we just want to make sure everybody feels safe regardless. That's my general band voice. That's who.
Yeah.
It's like you hold the mic like that and you're like, we just want to make sure everybody feels safe. Wall of death now. It's like, I think we have a different opinion about it because we come from an area that's very left-leaning, that's very liberal, that's very, open-minded to these other ideas. When somebody says, hey, your venue is not open to a lot of people who have disabilities, they go, oh shit, let's fix that. And maybe there's certain places where they're like, no, anything I'd have to do like that is part of an agenda I don't believe in, which I'm like, no, what? The people who want to go to shows? What? I don't, I can only imagine how much more difficult it is being in a swing state, as I hear on the news, and B, a place that, also what we're hearing on the news, Kenosha being an example, and then also now it is the hotspot of the U.S. For COVID. So I can only imagine how that must be different. Having some form of activism, really any form of activism. I'm sure just the threshold to be an activist in Wisconsin is so much lower than it is to be in Chicago, where everybody's like, no, I'm way more of an activist than you. And it's like, hey, we're all on the same side here. But I can only imagine it's just way more of a difficult bar to set where you're from, even in Milwaukee, which, I would assume is fairly left leaning, but because it's a city, but I don't really know.
Right. I mean, like Milwaukee's kind of a weird space because it is very, the people tend to be very liberal, left leaning, but it's still the most segregated city in America. Like there's still a lot of work to be done here, and it's hard to manage and it's hard to fix in a timely manner. But like, it's just like it's so important for people to just like talk about what they care about.
Mhm.
I think like that's what sucks, is that it feels like people just aren't they don't feel ready or comfortable to openly discuss injustices or issues that they see, you know, like in their daily life. And that sucks. Like, you know, we've always been, just as people, you know, like Isaac and I have known each other for a long time.
Since we were 5 years
since we
old.
were 5 years old. We've been friends. And we've always sort of, in our own like little bubble of friends and space like that, we've always fostered just very open and honest spaces. And that's because that's what matters to us. And so it's sad to see that be such a uncommon thing with the people around us.
And I will say that's one of my favorite parts of touring, is being able to kind of spread the message of things that we care about. And yet going back to like disability advocacy, we talk a lot about that because I have cerebral palsy and we have a lot of friends who have a lot of other disabilities. So one of my favorite things is that like at the back at our merch table, we'll often have like literature and stuff from various organizations that we support, like Lead DIY and their epilepsy stuff. And once we have shows up and running again, because we were supposed to get some stuff from Half Access, and then everything stopped happening.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be working more with Half Access, and like our friends, Future Teens, kind of got us the hookup with this. Are they like an anarchist collective or the Safer Scenes literature stuff? That that's one of my favorite parts of being able to travel, is kind of being able to talk to people about issues that are important to us.
I just think that's really cool that you're kind of taking initiative for that. I know at least out here in the city, we have our Music My Body come out to a lot of shows and venues.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that bands are now taking like not the initiative, it's kind of the initiative, but also saying like, I'm gonna use my privilege for like the betterment of people, which is so rare nowadays. Especially depending on whatever like music scene that you're in. You're just like, oh no, what's going on here? Um, so it's really refreshing to see it here and also see it still forwarding despite us not being able to like go see shows and have shows happening.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was also a unique challenge of, you know, how do we take what we talk about at shows that we care about and bring it into, and, you know, how do we bring it to social media? How do we keep ourselves accountable for these discussions? And, you know, that was a sort of unique challenge when everything sort of shut down. But I think now more than ever, people have the audience and the capability of talking about the things they care about, of spreading information that they feel should be spread. And it's just, I can't think of a better time than like right now to do it. Everybody's at home. Everybody is, quite frankly, just filling their time with media of any sort.
Yeah.
And puzzles, man, so many puzzles. And so like, yeah, like if there's something that, you know, bands or just like people with platforms feel should be being discussed, I don't see why now isn't the best time to do that.
Yeah, use your time to be productive and to listen and to also do puzzles.
Oh yeah.
So what's the biggest puzzle you have done this quarantine?
How many pieces?
When we were in the studio in Connecticut recording this new album, there was a 50-piece puzzle for children. It was a Masters of puzzle, and I did not get it done.
No, we fill our time now with just an obscene amount of board games, and so that's what we dude.
And I also recently rediscovered public libraries.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because I read something on like Twitter about how libraries are like the ultimate socialist institution. And I was like, they are. Libraries are, got a library card, and I'm checking out books left and right.
Well, big thing, I don't know if this is everywhere, but at least in Milwaukee, they've started curbside book pickup at public libraries, which is badass.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Go for it.
Yeah, we've been going to the library, we've been playing board games. That's our employment quarantine.
Yeah.
What board games are we playing? Because I don't think that y'all would be playing Life unless you wanted to try to like really project yourself onto what could be happening.
Not right now. Now's not a great time to play the game of life, man.
Funny enough, recently we just played the board game Pandemic, which
Listen,
automatically right.
Yeah, that game is ridiculously hard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we lost.
So you know what, American government, I forgive you. I get it.
Yeah, I understand.
Totally joking. You fucked it up anyway.
No, but like we have a whole board game cabinet that like if we were like on a cell phone, I'd show it to you.
Yeah.
But we were both like big board game people before this anyway. That like our big favorite is a card game called Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
It's that's a cool one. We just picked up a game called Mysterium.
We're big on like spooky games right now. We're trying to find good Halloween games.
Okay, like the vibe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we've just been exploring, web forums of board games.
Yeah.
Did you say Betrayal on House on the Hill?
Yeah.
That game is insanely good. It's so much fun.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah. I've actually been getting into board games too. I just backed one on Kickstarter that I've been following for like 2 months. Like their ads just kept coming up on Instagram, and I'm like, well, this one looks great.
Was it Veiled Fate?
It was fucking Veiled Fate, dude. Hell yeah.
No, we're gone.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It looks so good. I'm like,
We're just gonna have an emo social club night where we stream
Apparently.
this game.
apparently. Yeah, it's like you have to lie about who you are and then also make the character that you are. Like you can move any character in the game, and you have to like try to trick everybody into moving your character farther along in the whole process. So you're like, oh wait, are you red? And you're like, I'm not red. And they're like, you're fucking red, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm super into this. This is a great game. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys share that with me, because I'm like, Instagram knew my fucking number on that one. They're like, you're gonna love this game, and I was like, I cannot wait until this goes live on Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. I also just got like a Nightmare Before Christmas Funko game.
What?
I have no idea what it is. I still haven't even opened it up. I'm just like, yeah, let's just go for it. Let's try it.
We picked up a game last Halloween called Horrified, which is from Universal Studios. So it's all of the classic Universal monsters.
Okay.
Ooh.
Perfect Halloween
That's
game.
fantastic.
Very, very good. Very fun.
I'm writing that one down.
Who's your favorite monsters?
That's hard.
I'm partial to the Mummy for no real reason besides I think he's underrated.
I'm a big fan. As far as like classic monsters go, I'm a big Creature of the Black Lagoon fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that movie's great. I love the like full body suit for the creature. I think that's nuts. Currently, creepiest monster around is the Babadook. If you've never seen the Babadook, horrifying movie, highly recommend
I
it.
still haven't seen it. I gotta watch it now.
I haven't seen it either.
I'm never gonna see it.
Horrifying.
That's the next emo social club movie night is the
Apparently. Have you guys? Is that your favorite horror movie? Do you have any other horror movies that you'd recommend for the season?
We're like big horror. Oh, I'm a big horror.
He's a
movie
big
person.
horror
I was
movie.
about to say earlier, Isaac said that he was kind of like not into horror movies.
I'm not at all.
Isaac's spooked, but currently we're working our way through the entirety of the Friday the 13th series.
Okay.
They start off very strong. They get very bad.
That's
But
true.
Ridiculous is
they
what
get
it is.
insane. Tonight, actually, we're gonna watch double feature of Jason Takes Manhattan and then Jason Goes to Hell. Amazing. Very excited about it. I think all the classics are good. Like your Halloween, your Texas Chainsaw Massacre, your Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street.
I do like. I'm more of like an abstract horror movie guy. I'm in.
We haven't come out with some art house movie that none of us have ever fucking heard.
I agree with that. I don't like slasher films. It's like,
really?
Yeah, I think it's because, like you're saying, like the early Friday the 13th movies start off real strong. And then it's like my friends were assholes and were like, hey, we're going to watch the one where he's in space. And I'm like, I don't like this.
I will
but
say.
That's when you watch it with your asshole friends.
As we've been like watching them, I've gotten more and more like into it, right? That like when I know something scary is about to happen, I'll pull out my phone. But like for the rest of it, watching along, you know. I'm like making fun of everybody.
I just don't like I don't remember when we were saying this, but I just don't like the gore for gore's sake. Like, if it's going to be violent or it's going to show you like violence in the movie, I want it to not be like, we had this amount of budget for our special effects makeup section. Right. I want it to be more like we watched The Ring last night, and it's like, well, the only times they ever show you the actual violence that happens to people is a very quick scene. Like it happens in like one frame.
Well,
so you're like,
that's a jump scare technique.
It's a jump scare technique, which I also technically hate jump scares, but if they're done well, I've also been like, you know, I watch all these like horror video games on YouTube and I'm like, okay, every game is the fucking same now. Every game just looks, it's all like, I've got this issue with my brain. And then it's like, oh, and then I'm in this house and the house is creepy. And then it's like, at the end, you're like, oh, like she was mad. I don't know. It's like, it's always something like that.
Some like crazy revelation.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not what I want. And I appreciate that like some early 2000s horror movies were like, hey, here's the mystery behind this. And I think that's the same of like early Jason movies, early Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Like there's a mystery here and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Why does he kill? Why? Fear?
What's going on? What's the story behind it? Why is Jason's mom doing it? I want to know.
But it's like that's cool. And then you just like take that away when you're just like, how can we kill people in space?
Okay,
like,
but like,
no.
So I'm into like a lot of indie horror, which is not great. Because like the one movie that we watched was Midnight Meat Train. A great movie that made me completely terrified of public transit.
God.
But I still take it every day. I just think I'm gonna end up being murdered all the time. It's great.
God.
So I was like, let's watch that. And then everyone was like, fucking no, because it's insane. Same thing with this other movie I do really like. It's called May. And it's, oh God, I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen it since high school. And it's basically about this chick who's like, I'm gonna kill, like, I think it was like she killed like all her boyfriends and she was like dismembering them. And then you just kind of see everything. And then,
That's not a plot,
so
Lizzie.
That's just a plot.
There's a plot in that.
It's a loose plot.
It's like that's the pitch meeting.
Just go back. I know it was at the Music Box like horror movie thing when I was in high school, and like I graduated 2012. So like during that time, it was great.
Right. Yeah.
The pitch for that movie was there's a girl and she kills all her ex-boyfriends, dismemberment, and you see everything. That's the whole movie. That's an It's Always Sunny plot. Like that's
what?
I'm pretty sure that was like a thing, like an actual episode of It's Always Sunny where they're like, you see everything. Like that's all I got from what you said. It's like, what?
I will say I'm a big fan of the horror podcast. Like, because I don't like jump scares. Like that's my whole thing. We've been watching The Haunting of Hill House, and last night we were on the episode that has that big jump scare. I knew it was coming, so I went to the bathroom. But like,
you weren't looking at your phone. You just left the whole ass scene.
I didn't want to deal with it at all. But like, you know, I really appreciate when they can like craft sounds and stories to like actually be like unsettling.
Yeah.
And you know, in some ways they all end up being the same thing of like, oh, this person found a cassette in their attic and it's somebody doing something creepy. But like it works.
Like it's The Shining for some reason. It's just there. I don't know why, but it's there.
Monsters Inc. Exactly.
Oh my God. I had this discussion the other day, and I want to know, I might be just showing my age here, but do you think that Our Real Monsters is a better Monsters Inc.?
Absolutely not. Monsters Inc. will forever
Those are two
be.
separate things entirely.
I don't feel like they are. I was like, no, there's a reason I didn't get into Monsters Inc. and it's because I was a hardcore Our Real Monsters fan. I believe so.
I think you're an angry old man. Why?
Back in my day, we had Ickis, and Crumb held his eyes up, and his armpits smelled. Guys, Our Real Monsters was the OG better Monsters Inc. and I stand by it with no evidence because I barely remember either one of them.
Okay, so Connor Isaac, who wants to be my new co-host after that really bad day?
You have an angry old man equivalent for Ratatouille.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a rat driving a person. I'm like, I know that was a plot of something, but I can't remember it now. Yeah, no, I don't have an old man get off my lawn take for Ratatouille.
There's a lot of discourse about Ratatouille and Stuart Little that I just never understood.
Yeah, it's Stuart Little. It's Stuart Little is what it is.
Oh no. Like control Stuart Little, I think.
Wasn't there like a thing with Stuart Little where like the like original like actual like source material for Stuart Little is that he's just like an actual human?
He's a human that's the size and appearance of a mouse.
Yes, but it's like yeah. That's wild.
And he just got adopted by like a whole ass human family. They're like, I want this rat, not a child. I want the rat.
What a cute rat-sized man.
That's what they used to say about me.
Adorable. Well, I'm glad we talked about horror movies and how I'm right about Our Real Monsters. I feel like we should talk a little bit more about the... I only heard that I was correct. That's what I heard.
that was the most boomer thing you've said.
Damn. I got. I'll take that one.
We have a quick comment on the Twitch stream from Lainey Grace, a man-sized rat, Isaac Marquand.
Yeah. Yep, that's a
classic. That's me.
Off of this new album, I'll figure this out. Which song it probably stands out the most for you personally?
I think from like a lyrical standpoint and from just like a place of like, wow, I still feel that. North Newhall like hits me still every time I listen to it. I think North Newhall was like, that song was probably the most like direct and very, very like true to life lyrics that I wrote for the record. That was just like, that song still just like takes me back to being, so the song is about living a living situation I had that just felt very very, very bad. It just like it took a big toll out of me being in this space and just constantly feeling like I was just like, filling space where I wasn't wanted. And so that song is all about that. And every time I listen to that song, I just like, I feel like I'm in again. So that one hits hard for me, and also I think the closing track, Forever, is a big one for me. That like I think that's some of our best songwriting, and I think it just like it hurts to listen to.
Yeah, my personal favorite is I Woke Up Laughing. I just really like the energy on that track, and I like the drum parts on it. And that's also the one that I came up with the title for, so I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I was like, that sounds like the influence on that one has got you making it your favorite.
A little bit. Yeah. It's because I had a dream where we were on tour and we were just like driving in the van, and someone said something in the dream that was so funny that I laughed so hard that I woke up laughing.
Is there a big collaborative effort then when you guys are in the studio? Like it's everybody's putting a lot in.
Oh yeah. We all, and we've always written this way. Everybody writes their own parts, and like while we'll have like constructive insights on each other's part, like it would be cool if you did this, or I'm not really feeling that. It's very much like whatever you write for your part, that's your thing, and that's your contribution to the song. And we've always written that way. I think it's part of like what makes our music sound the way it does is the fact that like all of us grew up with just like incredibly different musical influences.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until high school when Isaac like forced us all to listen to his music, and then it like oh okay. So like there's a lot of when we started playing music, this is what we were influenced by, and it like bled into what we are now influenced by. And I think that those different backgrounds really like come through, and like it makes us sound the way that we sound.
Very easy to tell that we started with just me being influenced by Dave Matthews Band, and now everybody.
Oh boy!
Quite a wave.
Yeah.
Quite a wave. We've talked about things that I have always made fun of my former coworkers at one of my old radio stations for. One of them was jam bands, and now it's Dave Matthews. I'm really getting everything thrown back in my face. It's karma, I swear.
Yeah.
I am gonna be real with you. I love jam bands.
Oh my god!
Totally get it.
Name on Among Us is XX Fish XX.
Oh boy.
The S is a $sign. I like to go in the
Oh my god!
and tell people to listen to my band Fish. Yeah, I like Fish. I like Dave Matthews Band. I don't know if they're really a jam band, but I feel like they are. I've been so into Young Jesus lately. It's like the only band
That's the vibe I got from Young Jesus. I listened to it and I'm like, I like it, but I was like, why are these songs so long?
I love it.
Yeah, Dave Matthews was one of those things that like we started listening to Ants Marching regularly on tour as a goof, and now it's just like we can't get enough of Ants Marching.
Not allowed to play the live version.
Oh my gosh. Dave Matthews Band songs should not exist. They're so long. And they just play the same riff over and over again. And it's like, here's the third time that we're going to get a violin solo.
I love it. That's how I grew up. I was in like middle school drumming along to live Dave Matthews Band songs. That's
God. This is so much.
So much.
Now I'm gonna have to consult my coworkers. Made a joke. I left my Spotify up one day at work, and they created an "I Love Dads" playlist, and then I put it on my Bluetooth. And I was driving, and then while I'm driving, it switches over, probably from Fall Out Boy, knowing my dumb ass. And I'm like, damn it! And then I'm like, why the fuck is Dave Matthews on? And then I couldn't figure it out. I went into work the next day. I'm like, what happened? And I tell them what happened. They start burst out laughing. They're like, don't leave your Spotify up.
I recently rekindled my love for just the song "Jamie All Over" by Mayday Parade.
Love it. love it.
Any other made a great song. I just love Jamie All Over. It's the best song ever written, and it's the only thing I listen to now.
Is Barely Civil gonna cover Jamie All Over just because?
Dude, you gotta.
We've had genuine conversations about it.
Let's do it.
Oh, such a good song.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a random EP where you guys cover Jamie All Over and in Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah, it's ants marching and Jamie All Over. It's like, wow,
We're really diverse, guys.
I
We're
don't
really
know if
diverse.
those fandoms overlap aside from you
No,
guys.
you have to put a Death Cab for Cutie song in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
To get the
yes.
to get it all over, and then everyone's like, "Oh, all the kids like it now."
And Slipknot. And Slipknot. Yeah, we gotta
fucking yeah,
Why
Slipknot. I want to take a second to say hi to everybody in the chat because we just had a raid from our friend GWB Plays, who brought a bunch of people over here. All of our UK people, welcome.
Yeah.
Like the UK has been telling us about bands, and then we find out that they're like American bands, and we live in the city with them, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, how do you know bands that live down the street from us and we don't know them? So now I'm finally using our platform to be like, hey, listen to Barely Civil, get it together.
UK folks, listen to Parker Lee because it's the best UK emo band.
Ooh,
Oh, that's
interesting.
new. Maybe I'll put
an
that.
assertive statement to make
It's true.
as someone who lives in Wisconsin.
And just a
Okay,
general.
But Connor, what's your UK band? Your UK band that you would recommend? Doesn't have to be emo. It could be whatever the fuck it is at this point because we're talking about
Yeah.
jam band.
It could be anything.
band would be is the Outfield a UK band?
I have no idea.
I also only like the song "You're Loved" by the Outfield.
That's
So
fine. That's
I don't
fine.
know music outside of Jamie All Over.
My favorite band is British Dave Matthews Band.
British Dave Matthews Band.
My
David.
favorite British band is when Dave Matthews Band.
David
toured
Matthews.
in the UK. That's it.
David Matthews.
UK chat.
All right, so Repar said the Wombats, which I forgot was a UK band. I do love.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were
Yeah, you love the Wombats.
the Wombat.
Yeah.
The Wombats. Not an Australian band.
I
Yeah.
definitely got very hyped to see them open for Weezer. What was that?
Oh, yeah.
2 summer ago? Yeah. I was very hyped. I was also equally hyped for Weezer, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
I love.
Yeah, we're
We're
Weezer.
We're. Let me tell you, we're Weezer fans. I will put a cap on it. We're not incels. I promise. We're Weezer fans. Big Weezer fans.
I didn't realize that there was.
No, that's the thing. There's like multiple facets of Weezer fans. One of them is incels for some godforsaken reason.
Oh my
but I think
god.
it's because of just how Rivers Cuomo put out music earlier. Anyway, what's your favorite Weezer album? This is very important.
I will say in regards to the Wombats, when we were like initially trying to figure out a band name, I'm pretty sure that I like semi-seriously pitched Wombat Combat. So
That's funny.
yeah. So I've always liked the Wombats because I thought they had a good name.
There's a lot of shirt options there. There's a lot of shirt design.
Wombat Combat.
Oh yeah. Gory with it. Gore for the sake of it because of our special
Yeah.
effects.
Exactly. Whatever your budget is, you'll have that amount of gore in the TV in the t-shirt. Favorite Weezer album you said, Lizzie?
Yeah, what's everyone's favorite Weezer album? Me and
no.
Brian were talking about this.
We
before.
fought about it. We don't
We
agree,
fought about
and
it.
we never will. We might never.
No, we won't.
I wish you hadn't asked me because now I have to admit that Pinkerton is my favorite.
That's
Oh,
fine.
That's
That's
fine,
that's part of the
Pinkerton's
argument.
My favorite.
I'm a,
That's great.
I gotta say, in the argument of Pinkerton versus Blue Album, I'm on the side of the Blue Album. However, let me throw in a new contender, the Red Album. Pork and Beans is the best Weezer song ever written.
Wow.
Oh
Wow.
my god.
Interesting. Yeah, we had I listed off all the songs on the Blue album, and I was like, I don't think you can fuck with these titles that I'm listing off. My Name is Jonas, just as an opening song. Like, how could you?
But again, as we have discussed, Blue album is primarily a bunch of singles and other secondary singles, where Pinkerton was half of that plus actual songs that were comprised for the.
I'm sorry, singles aren't songs.
Listen, you understand what I'm saying?
Singles aren't songs? I see what we're saying. Hold on, I gotta write some notes about Lizzie. This has nothing to do with the episode. This is just about Lizzie specifically.
The detractor with Pinkerton is like everything about Pinkerton that's not the music on Pinkerton. That's why I'm embarrassed. Like I don't endorse anything that he says in
no, when you listen to like Across the Sea, you're like, oh, this is bad. This is bad.
Yeah.
This is really bad.
It sounds like Pinkerton is not the best album.
You guys are very much arguing for Pinkerton.
Yeah, you're like my favorite. I hate to say it, is Pinkerton. It's like I don't think Pinkerton is the good album.
You have to recognize the problems in order to go forward with your establishing statements. If I learned anything in 2.5 years of being on a debate team, that's what I learned.
Yeah.
Okay. My opening argument was My Name is Jonas. You know what that song's about? His name is Jonas.
And Jonas Brothers.
There's a video that I recently found on the internet of
this could go anywhere.
No, it's
I was about to say which
dangerous places
are we talking about?
YouTube. Weezer playing My Name is Jonas, accompanied by My Chemical Romance, and that is wild. That is insane.
You know why they picked it? Because the album is the best. It's fine.
Exactly.
Have you seen the video of the drummer for Weezer catching that frisbee one-handed while they play Beverly Hills?
That is sick.
Also, Beverly Hills is kind of a banger, and so is Perfect Situation is a fucking banger. Like, there's some very good songs outside of those records.
People gave Raditude a lot of shit.
Pretty good
slaps on it.
Pretty banger cover.
Hurley still got some slaps on
pretty
it.
Good cover.
Had that song. Had that song Trainwrecks, that the Jackass movie.
I haven't heard it.
Jackass movie.
Okay.
Jackass movie song was on that record. Really good record.
Everything Will Be All Right in the End had some great songs. Like
I remember my my middle school geography teacher burned me a copy of that record.
He burned me a copy of that Red Hot Chili Peppers album with The Fly and the Pill on it.
That one.
Is that appropriate?
I mean,
he got fired shortly after.
Okay, I get it.
Different reasons.
It wasn't related to Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Unrelated experiences.
Yeah.
So we're at a little over an hour, so I want to give you your opportunity to give some plugs here. Tell us where everybody can find you. So yeah, throw out all your socials, throw out where people can find you. All of our UK friends hanging out in the chat, you better pay attention and go listen to this band on Spotify.
Yeah, we're Barely Civil. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, I think.
Yeah.
Who uses Tidal anymore? You can find us on all those things. Our record, I'll Figure This Out, came out coming up on 2 months ago.
Yeah, coming up.
Through Take This to Heart Records. So you can find us at takethistoheartrecords.com. We've got vinyl, shirts, hats, all that jazz. Check out our Twitter, which is at barely_civil. We're still fighting to get rid of that underscore. Let me tell you.
Always.
Our Instagram is at Barely Civil WI, yes, or just at Barely Civil. It's one of the two. We update those fairly frequently. We tweet way more often.
It is at Barely Civil on Instagram.
It's at Barely Civil. But other than that, I don't know. Just please be nice to each other. Be good people as best as you can be. We also want to say shout out to our friend Carl Schultz. We love you.
Shout out to Carl.
Always got to shout him out. Other than that, like, yeah, please be nice to each other. Please be nice to me too.
Specifically and generally, be nice.
And listen to the weekdays.
Yeah.
Listen to our good bands. Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
That's what are your plugs?
We're just here. Go listen to Barely Civil. Fuck you doing? Fuck you doing? You not listen to Barely Civil? You fucking fake. You lying. Yeah, Connor, Isaac, thank you for joining us and hanging out with us here. Yeah, go listen to Barely Civil.
Yeah, please.
Please. All right.
It's a great album, guys.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you.
Yeah.